and when they've maybe had some hard times.
Right. Well, I'm open and transparent about my story. So from there, after that, it was hard work. I went to the military. I didn't graduate high school, got the high school equivalency, then went to law school, did 8 years in the United States Navy. The military really changed my life, but I'm transparent about my story. So here I am today as an attorney after going to law school, 2 law degrees, but there were certain obstacles that I overcame, and my message always includes inspirational parts and encouraging parts and letting people know no matter what you've been through, if I can do it, you certainly can. I didn't have any lawyers in my family to say, oh, I want to be like you, or doctors. I told my grandmother I wanted to go to law school, and she told me that was cute, but she didn't think it was going to happen. So I'm always telling people that if you can really think about it, there's nothing limiting you except yourself. It may be harder than it is for other people, but you can certainly do it. I'm really excited about a retreat I'm planning right now for female entrepreneurs here in Buffalo, New York at the end of April to really go into a mixture of business things, but also life things that we as female entrepreneurs face in terms of life-work balance. How do you do well at home and do well in your business and put it all together? So that's really what it includes.
Yeah, because from what I understand, part of what you went through was also going through some stuff even within the family environment. I know that you're very proud of the fact that you are a mom, I believe a mom of 4, but it sounds like there wasn't always roses and caviar in terms of the family life from what I read and studied on you.
I've divorced. I was divorced and went to law school as a single mom of 3 boys. And I want to say that in terms of single, in terms of my marital status, my ex-husband was a Marine. He was extremely helpful financially, but every deployment he could volunteer for, he was there. So, no, it wasn't always easy. There was times where I had to take the 3 boys with me to class and tell them to sit down, threaten them to be quiet in order to get through it. But you do what you have to do to survive. Now I'm looking at that young boy, one of the boys who I had to take. He's in the Navy. He was just a baby, and he's now in the Navy. And then my oldest has graduated from college, so it was a foregone conclusion. I mean, to think that I was the first person in my family to go to college, but now I have a son who also has a college degree. And I hope that what I'm doing is creating a legacy, so to speak. And then I have a daughter, a 9-year-old daughter now, a fiance, who, by the way, told me to tell you hello. He's former bossless of FIO here. He's a Q. And,
okay.
we're doing, yep, he's an attorney too. And we're here and we do the best we can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. And it sounds like one of the things that I'm always encouraged by is there are a lot of women out there that, for whatever reasons, have had children and sometimes even grandkids, but they sometimes feel that there is no hope for them in terms of the single life and things of that nature. But I do know for a fact that sometimes there is plenty of hope out there, and there are some guys out there that are looking at the whole package and looking at what the person is about and not necessarily writing them off because they may have a kid or in some cases multiple kids and even grandkids. I know that I've known some people that are like that. I mean, my younger brother and his young lady friend, they're almost like the Brady Bunch because she's a widower and he's twice divorced. And so he's got my 2 nephews, his 2 boys and everything, and she's got a boy and a girl. And like I said, they do that whole blended family. They're not officially married, but they've been together for a number of years, and who knows, they may be down the line.
And we do the same thing. I mean, he's got his 2, and we put it together, and we make it work, and we're a big support system. So if you can, the fact of the matter is unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are not in their first marriages. If you can make it work for yourself, I always say, you like it, I love it.
Oh, yeah, and that's what it's all about. I mean, I've even seen some people. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and some of them were like, no, I'm not doing that. You can't make me do it. There's no way I'm doing it because they had already gone through the whole marriage thing and were happily living the life of single life or being alone, if that's what you want to call it. But then there were others that I've known that have gone on. I've had one friend, and I was telling them about that person that literally they raised their two kids into, like you did, raised their kids into the adult ages, into their like early 20s, got remarried and she had another kid. I believe Victoria might be like pushing near around 10 or 11 now, if I'm thinking of her age correctly. But she married a minister. The minister had no kids. So she basically, as I like to jokingly say it, I think she told him, you get one and you get one only.
One and done. That's it.
Now,
exactly.
Now, you know what? They say sometimes you have to go through the first one to make sure to see what you don't want. And then after you've dealt with that, you're able to express fully what you're looking for, what you'll accept, what you won't. And the individual that is able to bring that wall down, not knock it down, not walk around it, but to take that wall piece by piece and take it out and still be there, flaws and all, through the good and the bad, that's the person that you were meant to be with, but you couldn't find that first because stupidity was in your way.
Right. I agree with that.
Crystal, I'm sure that even when this gentleman came into your life, the one that's your fiance, was talking about trying to be into your life as a family union, after what you had been through, you were probably sitting there going like, not happening, not going to happen, but then...
I'm good over here. I'm doing well by myself. I can come see you, you can come see me. Yeah, I'm good. It took a while. It took a while
for you to
but
get.
He's a good one.
And that's always the important thing, is you can find those good ones. Now, I have friends that are in the military. I have never done the military thing myself. My dad was actually an Air Force man before he got involved in the civil rights struggle and doing as an artist and done various academic professor and done various other things through the course of his career. But I am a fan of television and things of that nature. So I have watched many episodes of Jack. And I do remember that there used to be a lot of talk about lawyers in the naval system. And, of course, there's always conversations about women in the Navy. So I was just wondering what your experience was like as a woman in the Navy, because if you watch that show, there were some strong women lawyers in the JAG unit, but there was also a lot of episodes where women were not necessarily being treated with respect. And that show was set in like the 90s or 2000s, I believe. So I was just wondering how you feel the Navy is doing, or just the military in general now, in terms of being a progressive force in women's rights. Because one of my friends she passed away, her daughter went into the Navy, and now she's I think she may either be engaged or married and living in North Carolina now, because she did at least one or two terms in the Navy. But I was just wondering what your thoughts about the Navy as a tool of I won't say escape, but a tool of development and enrichment for women, if they're thinking about that. And if you went through the experience, share with us a little bit of that experience.
Sure. Well, I think the U.S. Navy is the best out of all the armed forces, but I'm biased. But there are struggles in all of the branches for women. I wasn't an attorney in the Navy. It was I was enlisted, and I was actually a corpsman, and it was the military that actually gave me the wonderful GI Bill that allowed me to go to law school. I finished my undergrad degree while I was in the Navy. I finished at Cal State San Marcos when I was in San Diego. And there's definitely some opportunities, not just for women, but for people from a lower socioeconomic status. This is always a hard conversation to have, because you get into these political ideologies that I kind of like to avoid. But for me, the military, the Navy, was the structure, the discipline that I didn't have growing up. And it also was my first experience with true diversity, where I felt that I was a part of something, a diverse team. I was in when 9/11 happened. So I really had my views shaped about war when we were on our way to Iraq. Afghanistan, I understood. I didn't understand Iraq. But there are struggles, as in any type of professional arena for women. But I think now, even since I've been out, I'm just seeing some wonderful things. There are more female pilots in the Navy that I know of. There are female admirals. There was no female admiral that I remember when I was active duty, but there are now more female admirals. And then in the other armed forces as well, even in the Marine Corps, which is notoriously a branch that women would not gravitate towards because of its reputation to be first in fight, and their reputation to be as tough as they are. Even the Marine Corps has a number of women who have moved through the ranks to top enlisted officials and officers. So I think we're getting there. It's slow, but we're getting there. And anytime you have a ship full of 5,000 people, 6 of which are women, there's going to be some tension there. And you're on a ship for 6 months. So could you imagine the dynamics of that?
Wow. Yeah, that's just some hard dynamics. There's 6 of you ladies and 4,000 something else of the other folks. And you were also coming up at a time that the Navy and the other military was supposedly being more acceptable of people's various lifestyles and religious beliefs and things of that nature. But I'm not sure that under our current administration that they're even doing that, what they were doing then. So that was, when you say true diversity, I'm imagining that when you were in office, you were seeing people that were, proclaiming certain kinds of lifestyles, probably practicing religions that you might not have even been familiar with growing up in Buffalo.
It's funny. Yeah, that's true. But it's funny what the experience is of those who haven't been in the military and what your experience is when you are in the military. You don't really have those conversations as much. They happen sometimes, but really when you think about it and my ex-husband once told me, and he was a Marine, and so he was all over in combat zones often. And he said to me once, I couldn't care less what color, what area the person came from, if they were a male or a female, but if I needed somebody to drag my behind off the field because I was hurt, as long as they were there to do it, I couldn't care less what they were and who they were and where they came from.
Yeah, I think that's the attitude.
That sentiment.
Yeah, and I do too. I think that's the sentiment that most of us would need to have. It's just that it doesn't matter what you're doing in your church, in your house, in your school, or whatever, as long as you got your back in those kind of situations. Because I know when you're in those kind of like combat situations, it's all about somebody having your back, and it doesn't matter what they do in the comfort of their own homes or in the comfort of their own times. It's just a matter of they just need to be able to understand the strategy and why they're there. But you did bring up an interesting question. I'm not going to get overly political, but I do that sometimes. But you just said you don't want to go there, so I won't go there. I'm fair enough to do that. But as a military or an ex-military person, did you ever get in those situations where you – because I've had this conversation with my cousin, where you felt uncomfortable because you necessarily might not agreed with what was going on, but, you're military, so you got to follow the rules and do what they tell you to do, whether you agree with that decision or not. Because I know we've been involved in a couple of conflicts. We can go back to Vietnam and we can go back to Civil War.
We go back to Iraq. I understood Afghanistan. After 2001, this is where you're telling me the people who attacked us and bombed the World Trade Center, this is where they're located. ABC. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to say that that's where we should be going. There was something missing for me, and I wasn't really very political then, but there was something missing for me when it came to Iraq. These weapons of mass destruction, which, by the way, we never found. And afterwards, it made me feel a lot of animosity because here I am, my life is on the line. My then husband, his life is on the line. People who I have close relationships, our lives are on the line. And you can even lie to me to say that we found weapons of mass destruction to make it seem as if my life was on the line for something. So, yeah, I did. That's when my political view began to really form. Before then, I don't know that it really was, but it definitely began to form then. But I'll tell you this, fast forward to 2019, I can look back and remember, saying that I couldn't stand President George W. Bush, and this man was an idiot, and what is he thinking, and he's doing this, and he's doing that. But I probably shouldn't go there. I don't know who your listening audience is completely, but my opinion is I would go back to President George W. Bush in a heartbeat compared to what's going on right now.